All right, next kind of problem, going back to something different now. We are going to write an equation that represents this word problem, and then we're going to graph it. What they want you to realize is your graph doesn't always have to be X and Y. You're taking science classes. You know that you can label things differently. Here, the W is representing the water. The T is representing the time in minutes. And so we do it just like we do with an X and a Y. We're just using different variables that make sense to the problem. Owners of a recreation area are filling a small pond with water. They are adding water at a rate of 35 liters per minute. There are 700 liters in the pond to start. Let W represent the water in the pond in liters and T represent the number of minutes that the water has been added. Write an equation relating W to T, then graph your equation using the axis below. So if I'm going to write an equation relating W to T, it means my equation is going to say W equals, and I want something with a T in it. So I'm finding how much water is in the pond. So looking at that word problem above there, we started with 700 liters. So we started with 700. We are then going to add water, right? We are adding water at a rate of 35 liters per minute. 35 liters per minute. How would I represent that?
35L.
35. We're going to use the variable it tells us to use, though.
T.
T. 35 liters for how much ever time I let the water run. So there's my equation. I now need to get it on the graph. So I want to think about when I put my stuff in. This is normally the X, and this is normally the Y, right? So when I make my table, the T is going to come first. The W's are my answers. And then I just want to use some nice, easy numbers. So I look at the bottom line here, and I always like to use 0. And then I just want some other easy numbers. Pick a couple other numbers off my graph there.
2, 4, 6.
2 and 4 will do.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to take these numbers, plug them into our equation, find our answers. So if we put 0 in for the time, if I don't run my water any extra time, how much water is in the pond? So 700 plus 35 times 0, right?
Okay.
$700. And then we're going to do 700 plus 35 times 2 then, since we picked 2 to put in for our time. $770. And then 700 plus 35 times 4 for our time. $840. Now, you're going to have to use that plot point tool. Remember that little one you click on and you type in your ordered pairs? Because not all of them will end up in a nice spot on your graph. We're just going to estimate them. The 0 and 700 we should be able to get right in the right spot. That's right on the line. But the 2 and 770, we just have to kind of estimate that. The computer will put it in the right spot, but 770 should be a little higher than halfway up, right? 775 would be 3/4 of the way up. And then we're going to do the 4 with the 840. Again, we're just going to estimate it, but you'll let the computer do it and it'll put it in the right spot, but a little bit less than halfway up. My dot should end up sort of in a line so that I can draw my line then to show what my graph looks like.
I notice that when I do these, if I'm off a little bit,
it doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Yep, you have to be really careful that you click right on the dots that you have marked on your graph so that when you draw the line, it goes through those dots. All right, so number 8. It says the Sugar Sweet Company is going to transport its sugar to market. it will cost $3,750 to rent trucks, and it will cost, that's supposed to say cost, it says cast, an additional $125 for each ton of sugar transported. Let C represent the total cost in dollars and S represent the amount of sugar in tons transported. Write an equation relating C to S. I gotta fix the typo here. And you write down what you think the equation should be while I'm fixing the typo. So write your equation relating C to S. How much is it going to cost me?
I put C equals 1350.
C equals, where'd you
Oh,
get?
3750.
$37.50.
$37.50 plus 125.
125.
T.
Not T this
I mean
time.
S.
S this time. So we got to use the letter it tells us to use, right? And by the way, these are in caps, so you want to type them in caps when you type them in on your answer, just like they are when you see them. So there's our equation. C equals 3750 plus 125S. We want to find some points to put on our graph. When we make our table, what variable are you going to plug in for?
S.
S, and your answers are going to be the C's, right?
Oh yeah, C. S and C.
So what number should I put in for S?
Oh, 3750.
But think about down here, look at your bottom axis. What numbers are down there?
Oh,
Nice
that's-
easy ones, right?
Yeah.
So what number shall we use?
Should we use them 0, 1, and 3?
0, 1, and 3. Sounds great. So I'm going to plug the 0 in first. 3750 plus 125 times 0.
That was going to be 37.
That'll be 3750, right? Then 3750 plus 125 times 1.
A. Just one word. Equals, yeah, I'm going to error. 3875.
3875. And then we're going to do our 3750 plus our 125 times, and this time you pick 3 to use.
4125.
4125. So again, you'll use the plot point tool and type the ordered pair in and just let the computer put the dots on there for you. We're going to estimate where they are. 3750 would be halfway between 3,500 and 4,000. So put a dot about halfway up on your line. 3875 would be more than 4,500, so probably going to be, oh no, 3875. Not even going to be up to 4,000 yet, is it? So just a little under 4,000. And then 3 was at 4,125, so that one's going to be just a little bit above 4,000. Like I said, the computer will put those on there. We'll just estimate them for now so that we can connect our dots and draw our line. Now those two ones we're adding, and they weren't too bad to write the equation. We got kind of a trickier one here for the next one because I wanted you to have an example of the one that was a little trickier. It says, a cookie company uses, and that's supposed to say 1 cup of sugar for every 30 cookies it makes. Evidently my typist was having trouble typing that day. Let S represent the total number of cups of sugar used and N represent the number of cookies made. Write your equation relating S to N. So, 1 cup of sugar for every 30 cookies it makes. I want to know how much sugar I'm going to use if I know how many cookies I'm going to make. So S is going to equal what? There's going to be a 30 in there somewhere. So think about when you're solving your problem. I'm using 1 for every 30. So if I made 60 cookies, how many cups of sugar would I use? 2. How'd you get that answer?
1 cup is 30, 2 cups, 60 cups equals 2 cups of sugar.
So if I know 60, how did I get the answer of 2? You did what with your 30?
Doubled.
Well,
Times 2.
you actually did it the other way around. If you knew the 60, to get the 30, you took half of it, right?
Yep.
So when it says 1 for every 30, you're doing that, right? But we can simplify that because 1 times n is just going to be n. If you know the number of cookies and you divide it by 30, you're going to figure out how many cups of sugar you're going to use, right? If I know I have 60 cookies, 60 divided by 30 is 2 cups of sugar. So when it says 1 for every, this is what I'm starting out like. 1 out of every 30 times my n, which simplifies into just n over 30. So if I'm making my table, N and S, we already said if I had 60 cookies, I used 2 cups of sugar, right? So when we pick out numbers here for how many cookies, notice the numbers on the bottom of the line. They're bigger numbers, right?
Yeah.
I want to use numbers that make sense. I probably really don't want to use 75 because that won't come out very nice. I'd want to use numbers like 30, 60, 90. 0 is always good.
Okay.
So what if we say 0 and 90? If I don't make any cookies, how much sugar do I use?
0.
0, because 0 divided by 30 is still 0. If I make 90 cookies, how many cups of sugar?
6. Oh, 3.
3. 90 divided by 30, right?
Yeah.
3. I should probably write what we did. So, 0, 0, again, we'd use the plot point tool. This one might come out nice where we wouldn't have to, but 0, 0 would be right in the corner. 62, and then 93. And so we can plot those points and draw our line. So just watch that when it says 1 for every. It ends up being a dividing problem.